What's up, guys? This is Priyanka, and welcome to CodeCouch once again. Right? By this time, we also have a Facebook community for CodeCouch where you can post all of your questions. And also, what can you do is if you have events going on around you, or meetups, or any opportunity or openings for the students, then you can also post that in the community there. Uh, Otherwise, thank you so much for your response. I really want to mention a name, Devi Prasad Sena from India. Thank you so much for so impressive logo of CodeCouch. I hadn't thought about that yet, but amazing that you made my day. I'm super happy. And coming back to today's video, last week I got a chance to meet Stefan, who is one of the founder of Open Tech School Berlin, and we had a great conversation about how can you start your career in the web development or programming, and also how can you grow as a developer. There is always opportunity for every developer to explore and grow, and in addition to that, how is the tech, and was very intense and one of my favorite conversation so far in the. And also Open Tech School is another platform where you can also learn, and which helps many people learning and empowering people, so which works similar to CodeCouch, and I would highly recommend going there. And it has a great culture and environment. I think it's part of like most of the cities of Berlin, and also it exists in some other countries. You should go to opentechschool.org or opentechschoolberlin.org for the Berlin, I guess. Okay, guys, this freezing cold here. I gotta rush now to the office. So enjoy the video and the conversation. And if you, I'm Priyanka.
Stefan, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. So first of all, tell me how did you feel about CodeCouch?
I heard for it the first time, so not sure how I feel about it, but I like the idea. So what you told me about sharing knowledge, empowering other people, that's exactly what I really like, and what we also do with Open Tech School. So it's really cool to hear that other initiatives are there and doing the same.
Thank you. Okay, coming back to the Open Tech School, tell us what is it, and when did it start, and how did it start?
So Open Tech School is a group of people who came together now 5.5 years ago.
Quite old.
So it's established. So last year we had our jubilee. And nice. The idea was that we wanted to provide an environment for people to actually get started.
Okay.
So the whole thing started here in Berlin. And in the city, it's quite common that there are a lot of events and organizations for professionals.
A lot of
meetups. But most of them are actually focusing on already advanced technologies or people who have prior knowledge and are professionals. And we wanted to not say this is something not good, but it's missing something in between. So people who are actually new, want to just get started or have some impressions, they shouldn't be overwhelmed and shouldn't be left out. So we gave them an environment, and we started to actually organize a workshop, which was the JavaScript for absolute beginners.
Oh, nice.
It was really cool, and it was a success in a way that people said after that they want to have another one, and we did another one, and then they said, well, but could you also have it regularly, not just once a month, but we kept it on, and then we started actually doing meetups. So the first one and the longest running is the web front co-learning meetup. That's the one you currently hear. So that's the one we have each Wednesday. Then we also have one which is for Python, which is each second Monday. We have some for WASP. We have some for social coding. We have a lot of topics. If you check out the Open Toolbox.
What kind of people do you expect in the meetup? In the Open Tech School, generally the beginners or the mid-level or experts?
We don't expect anyone, or we expect everybody, because everybody is a learner and a coach. I mean, that's what we really embrace.
I really like the idea of that, because I see people from different backgrounds and also different levels here. And that's fun, right? That you can teach, and you can also learn. So
and that's true. It's we say when we mean that everyone is a student or a teacher, that it's actually a life experience. So whatever you've done before, it shapes how you learn something, how you go through something. And if you didn't have a technical background before, you learn it, and even more, you can be so much more productive, or you can so much more good in things you do without being biased on some specific areas.
I mean, in fact, I saw here, like in Berlin, many people who are literally not from that computer science background, and they're coding and they're like expert, you know. So I was just curious, how did you start?
I just talked with a few people earlier. I'm one of the exceptions because I got like a degree, a university degree, in the regular way. Although I have to say that nothing I learned actually in university is something that I most of the day use like web technology related stuff, because in university you don't really learn something about like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and that's what I'm doing at my daily base now. Yeah, that's cool. That's the good point. Also in CodeCouch we are trying to help the students also. So what do you think, like, what is the one advice you could give with the students who are studying in the universities and they want to code? So I think, so there are two advices. The one thing which helped me certainly, and how I actually made it through the first semester of university and which drives me always forwards is like, what is it that you're passionate about? And for me is when I realized that coding, developing and creating something, it's like solving puzzles. It's like you have like specific constraints with the time constraint, if it's something you have to solve quickly or very efficient, but you make up your mind. And it's if you like Sudokus, if you like crosswords, then you're already a developer and engineer. So I really like that. And when did you figure out that you really like front end or doing front end or the back end? I think I figured that out like on the third day or fourth day when I really like when I realized that there is something. It's in the beginning of university I had no idea about technologies at all, and then I learned in the evening something about browsers and the web, because at university we only did some Java and desktop applications, but in the night I realized what is these terms or what is it actually doing, and I started actually practically what everyone is doing here, so it's really cool to relate to that, and for me it was when I realized that what I have in mind, or what one of my goals is, like empowering people. If it's like through helping other people to achieve their goals, or if it's like any kind of user for websites or application, I want to get them as the best for them what they can. So that was why I liked frontend at most. I say I'm an engineer or a developer who's focusing on frontend, so I can also do regular backend tasks or DevOps and so on. But I like to give the people the joy to say, okay, you can actually make something pretty and nice, but you can also help, for instance, give them assistance. So if they forget to type something and then they close the browser and you come back and the text is still there, it's something which is really helpful, and people who are not familiar with like front-end, they wouldn't be aware of that. So it's really cool to be as close as for me to the user as I can, and that's why I like front-end. That is awesome. That's cool. I don't have to ask you anything. You just tell me everything. That's great. You're a nice person to be talking to. Alright, so like many people asking me that how do we find job in Berlin? So we are just students and we come out of the university. We don't know where to look for. So what's the suggestion for you? I mean, how I did it, I was just also, I started with internships. I did some junior positions, and I realized over the time what I like and what I prefer or not prefer. And the good thing is nowadays there's so many opportunities, and there will be growing more. Each kind of company, each kind of environment is actually going into digital ways. And with web technologies being all around us in the browser and on the phone, even on native applications where you have them nowadays, you can. It's everywhere, literally. I know. So like as adding on to your point, I think like nowadays also like there are a lot of technologies when it comes to front end, like 10 years like below, then you just had to learn HTML or one thing. So even like some 5 years down, it was like not many things. Now you have to learn so many, like even all the libraries and many things. I'm not so sure. Definitely there are more options, but it's not that way that you say, okay, you have to learn all the things you have to know. For instance, we were talking with someone else about who is into like data visualization in D3. That's a tool where you can really specialize in. There are people who or applications where you say, okay, I'm looking for data visualization or D3 developer, and that's something on their own, because you don't need to know anything about like much about network communication, about high performance things, but you need to know, okay, how to use the tools you have at hand, how to achieve something. The same goes if you do, for instance, game development. You don't need to know, okay, how to low latency, whatever. It's like different requirements, and therefore it's good that we have all these tools, but people don't need to force themselves to know every one of them.
Yeah, so it's totally okay if someone is really interested in one thing, right? You don't have to just like be everywhere and you don't expect.
I mean, a good thing is also all these buzzwords. I mean, if people are now looking, for instance, on the applications or positions outside, they will see a lot of things where they say, okay, we need people who are working with React, with Vue, with Ember, with Bootstrap, with all those things. But when they realize that it's actually not contradictory, but people who are using Vue, they don't use React, they don't use Angular, they don't use Knockout or so on. So it's not like you need to know all of them, but it would be helpful if you have like an understanding of one thing you're interested in and why they're used, because then you can apply different technologies or similar patterns, and you know what to use when.
Yeah, exactly. And also like very close to this, so now I think I just heard you also now in a position to recruit other people. So what is the one quality you look for people? So when, for example, for the beginners and for the mid-level developers, what skills or qualities do you
it's interesting, because for me the difference between like senior, mid-level and junior, it's just, so there's one quality which I come to the end, but the difference between like this graduation, it's how often, and that's my opinion and something which I also promote in the company, and I'm glad that my colleagues are also watching for that, it's how often you actually failed and came back. So the idea is that everyone is making mistakes. Everyone, even the people who are like professionals for several years, all of them are still learning, growing, and are doing errors all the day. But what they do is they are not so frustrated, but they come back. They actually learn, and they are not stuck, but they say, okay, now next time challenge, I make it better, or they grow up on their mistakes. So that's the good thing. And I think this is someone who just started, of course, he has not so much experience in a way that they didn't fail. While someone who did it for a few months, years, whatever, they know, okay, what can hurt, and then they come back out of it, and they didn't get stuck. So I think this is like how you can differentiate. But for the one key trait or characteristic, I would definitely say it's curiosity. I mean, curiosity is the thing which I say, okay, I care if I'm interviewing a senior, if I can interview a mid-level or junior. For me, it's if I get the spark, if I get that, okay, the people who are actually doing something, they don't need to have, like I mentioned before, a degree. The degree helps if you want to negotiate about benefits and trades. It doesn't help you if you want to work in a team. It doesn't help you if you want to say, okay, I know something specific about the technology, because this is like really application knowledge. It's something you have to drive forward. But if you are willing to learn something about an area you're not really interested in, this is something which is much more beneficial, because everything will change. Like tools we use right now, in a few years they might be deprecated. People are saying now, okay, perhaps you remember still jQuery, and it's a great tool. But nowadays people are not so looking into it anymore, which is kind of sad, because it gave so much credibility, but it gave us also a lot of to learn. And people who can adapt and who can learn are far superior about people who just say, okay, this is something you have to do, and this is something like not thinking by themselves. And that's why I think like also this self-driven learning is very beneficial, because you know actually where to go on what is your interest, and then you can actually exceed in this area.
And also like while you're a student, and also when you're working, so having side projects, you mean, were really helpful.
So that's one of the things that I would always recommend. So I think like in the last 5.5 years I had like 15, 16 projects. I think 1 or 2 actually finished it. But the thing is, it's always interesting to first get inspired by others, what they're doing, but also explore new technologies side by side, because at work or during university you sometimes couldn't do it, so you just did it on your own, and then you get familiar with new APIs, with new technologies, and then later on you can even introduce them to your daily life, which is really cool. And you're not forced to say, okay, it needs now quality, productive, and needs to be 100% accurate. You can just play around by yourself, and if you figure out that's something you want to go on, just do it.
The same thing with me as well. I feel like for me the extra time which I put in is was the best and helpful for me rather than my 9 to 5 job. So I think we should have a side project.
And as you said, you can also use that. For instance, previously someone was asking, okay, what is if you have no, if you're not enrolled somewhere, if you have no employee and you want still to do something, a side project is something you can show off, because it first shows you have like the effort or passion to get something started, to stick with it and realize it, and then people can also, if you make it like public available in GitHub in the source code, they can see you. It's not about like evaluating, because everyone will see, okay, you might be interested in some ways or another. It's not about like the quality or whatever, it's rough, because everyone does what they fit. In the end, it's getting something done. And this is much more, if people who are working 5 years just to realize, okay, they can't ship something, or if you do it for 3 weeks but you get something rough and can like get feedback, you can explore. I mean, there's so many buzzwords where people say, okay, I'm agile, I'm using Scrum or whatever. This is the whole concept. It's about like growing, sharing, and getting something out of it. I know. Cool, that's awesome, Stefan. Okay, coming back to the question of Open Tech School, is it also available in other cities or other countries? Yeah, so Open Tech School itself was originally founded in Berlin, but we got different chapters. So if you check on opentechschool.org, we have, I think, in Germany, like 12 different cities, but we also got, like, for instance, a chapter in Melbourne, in the US, and in Sweden. And I also heard that you also like speak German and also Italian. Yeah, I mean, so this is what in our description, because one of our organizers is also Italian, and that's a cool thing. Like in Berlin, we have so much different backgrounds and this diversity. It's actually what makes it the best, because we all can learn from each other, can grow and help out. So that's really cool. So and also you have some really good examples, like to get started for people. I mean, this comes mostly from the workshops, even from Git, from Python, from JavaScript. How people who were starters actually are starting. So this helps hopefully. Cool. That was really nice, Stefan. Amazing information. I didn't have to talk much. Everything you just explained. So thank you so much. I think I will come here quite often. I came here for the first time and it was amazing. So I met nice people and cool. Thank you so much. Welcome. Thank you. And if you like the conversation, you know what to do, right? Like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that. Just see.